verticals are different corporate heads, so there are different verticals sort of amalgamated, bought under Castle, which was Tata Aerostructures Limited, and then they combined the whole thing and said Tata Aerospace and Defence Limited. So as of now, today, it's Tata Aerospace and Defence Limited, which has 4 verticals, so to speak, under it. And these verticals, I presume the intention was absolutely right. You had Tata Motors, which looked at land mobility systems. You had Aerostructures, which were in the form of JVs with various companies internationally, where you did initially a build to print. Thereafter, you then sort of took it to the next level of indigenizing those products in India and then becoming the sole provider and the benchmark producer and manufacturer of that item for these big players. So that's why when you look at the Aerostructures, you've got a JV with Boeing, you've got the Airbus, you added with Pilatus, you make the C-17 undercarriage out here, you make portions of the Apache out here, the GE engine, which is the LEAP engine, which goes into both the Airbus and the Boeing, is about 30% done by the Tatas. So all these were initially built to print, subsequently replaced with indigenous products and better quality, and over a period of 8 to 10 years, they've actually become this benchmark product for the aerostructures in various companies. So even their other supply chain manufacturers have to follow the same guidelines that Tata has been able to do it. So this was as far as the aerostructures. But as you're aware, Tata Power or Tata Electric used to have a division that started off its own activity. So the land systems and certain amount of system engineering which came up, which has been the benchmark of Tata SCD earlier, which is now Bhartiya, which is located in Bangalore, was sort of accumulated, I would say a gradual growth from what it was at the initial inception. And as you're aware, I think somewhere in the 84, 85 is when Tata Electric, then Tata Power subsequently, and then Tata SCD, actually made the first EW system with DRDO for the naval frigates that came in. That was called the Ajanta EW system. So that was something which was really vintage. So they came into the space in about 85, 86. Then when you came into the land system, especially with the integrated guided missile program of the country, which was steered by Mr. Abdul Kalam, our Honorable Prime Minister, he had a great relationship, and that's how elements of the Prithvi itself, the first set of missiles, was also done by a portion of the Tata in the electronic subsystems which started functioning. Thereafter, the Tata mobility vehicles came in, and as you're aware, whether it's the Akash or the Agni, or it is the Pinaka launchers, you've got all of them where they're providing. Now also for the BrahMos, I think the subsequent BrahMos platforms are going to be on a Tata mobility vehicle. So you had this vertical which came in, looked at land systems, system integrations, and that developed over a period of time. A large number of products are there. I've got a laundry list and sort of just read it out later. But more importantly, I think the reorganization of all these elements which were in different, which were a small element of a larger group. If it was Tata Motors, the land system contributed maybe 1% to the overall capability and return on investment as far as the company was concerned. But tomorrow when you amalgamate and get all of them together, today you've got a large group which is staggered, and as you're all aware, Mr. Sukaran, the CEO and MD, and presently we have Mr. Vijay Singh, Mr. Ramatran, the old DevSec. Mr. Vijay Singh is the present chairman of the board who looks after and steers this whole group as it stands. So what do we have? We have 4 verticals. You have aerostructures, which I talked about. You have airborne platforms and systems, in which you've got different subheads. You've got unmanned systems, the rotary platform, the fixed wing, and the mission system, and the avionics, which is there. Then you've got the weapon system, which are really looking at land systems primarily, radar, sonars, EOIRs, communication equipment, command and control systems, security and border surveillance, advanced code, ATACs, which again, as I said, the steering of the artillery gun system started off initially with Bharat Forge, but then when the DRDO project was done, so you had both having primarily the ATACs functioned until the Bharat Forge, and ATACs, which was designed and functioned by Castle and Tattle. So hopefully now that the AON is out, you would have a distribution, depending on whatever is the process that is followed out finally, that both of us will be producing this equipment for the Indian Army, and hopefully as as the benchmarks have been extremely stringent, which in a 7-8 year roadmap for all these developments to take shape, you would actually find a world-class equipment that would match anything, or will be better than the best that you have today in the market. So if I had to just give you a quick laundry list, this whole amalgamation started about 2018, and finally I think last year March is the period when this new formation of the Tata Aerospace and Defence Limited was finally completed, and it now is the independent entity which looks at all aspects of aerostructures, aviation, gun systems, and any other related defence activity of surveillance and homeland security. Today, if you have to look at it, when I look at the armed forces, I just say that where are you looking at? I think thanks to the, I think the biggest fillip today to the Indian industry has been these emergency powers. In a manner, there has to be something that has to trigger activity in the right direction, and I think the emergency powers has been a great boon, and with the focus of the government, with all these positive risks coming out, there's a larger and a greater resilience within the industry, in the private industry, and also greater opportunity where the smaller startups are finally seeing some green bucks coming in instead of just wasting time on the floorboard and the design board. Because I think nothing gives you a bigger impetus than when you see some results and some amount of selling, which sort of gives you the initiative and the incentive to do better and go to the next step. So if I had to look at land systems today, I'll talk about the launcher, the ATACs, the electro-optical systems. As you're aware, the LOROS with the SWR is now presently produced and was in service. The last two contracts that went to the Tatas, which looked at it, which is far superior to what we bought initially from the Israeli gunner. I can understand that myself, and it's nearly about 30% cheaper than what you would get of a later technology today within India. And you don't have to wait for spare parts to come from outside. You got it available based on just-in-minute kind of, just-in-time kind of a system that you would like to adopt as far as the spare management is concerned. When you're looking at these armored platforms, you've got the quick reactive mine-protected vehicles for the infantry, the IPMVs that have come in. You've got bulletproof vests. We've got the IEWS system that was created, which was in service. And now, recently, we've got for the Agni 5, the 50-ton prime mover is also now provided by the Skyram Mobility. When you come to the Air Force, I think the relationship has been, I think, more intense. That way, I think, being myself a man in uniform, an OG man, I would say that the blue and the whites have been more supportive of activities that have happened in promoting and supporting industry, much more than the Army was. That has changed. I can say in the last about 5 to 7 years, there has been a drastic shift in that, where the user has become more open and more interactive in trying to support and go ahead and do the hand-holding to get to the final product. So that's been a change as well. But I think the Air Force and the Navy have always been, I think, the leading lights as far as dealing with the developer in ensuring the best products come out. And maybe that reflects in the kind of products today we have. Just to start with the Navy first, the combat management system on the Vikrant has been done by the Tatas. And the first one, which went to Arihan about 15 years back, was also done by the Tatas. So all combat management systems, the SSR radars, you've got the portable diver detection system on the ships that's being provided. The ship AEW systems are all provided by the Tatas to a large extent on a large number of the new manufactured boats and ships that are out. When I look at the Air Force, you've got the FADHS system, both in Batara, Jodhpur and Samna. You've got the radar, the data processing systems, both for the legacy radar that exists, both for early warning as well as long-range EW. So primarily all these old radar systems from analog systems were converted into digital systems, which gave them the capacity with value addition to be able to sort of utilize this processing, both as far as the displays are concerned, as far as of tracking is concerned, in all functions related, including command and control systems. You have the APC radar at Dindugal, and then of course you've got a large number of small products in different aspects. So I think legacy radars, upgrading them into the digital format, giving them the upgrades is what has done the trick as far as the products are concerned. When come to aerostructure, the loiter munition for the Air Force, which is at 100 kilometers, is now being in the final stages of production after it has been cleared. So you've got the UAV LRLMs which are there available. You've got the surveillance radars. You're getting into logistics space. Though we haven't been able to secure the contract, but I think these are the spaces looking at the complete spectrum of unmanned vehicles that the Tatas is today currently working in and have been able to get into. So as I said, a large group which seems to have a footprint across from the aerostructures to the naval systems to the land systems. What is it that really I see today? I leave the Tatas out, but now let me get back to the hat that I wear myself. I think two things that I would leave as a thought for the user primarily. And that is, it's very important for us today to spend a lot more time and deliberation on the operational parameters that we desire from a weapon system or a weapon platform. If we devote and fix that correctly within ourselves based on our operational requirement, then I think the direction the industry will get to start working will be more focused and will actually give you the best results. And let me also put along with this the same thing, that the minute you put out an RFP with very, very, I would say, exaggerated requirements, it's in a manner demotivating, because what is really happening, what we did when we were youngsters in the army, if I was asked to set up a parameter, I picked up a SIPRI handbook or I picked up this world, whatever James I could pick up, looked at what was the best. I did not understand what do I want, so I just copied the best parameters and sort of gave some idealistic situation which did not really cater for a trade-off of one to the other if you wanted to do that particular function. So if you do your operational parameters correctly, you will then ensure that what you put out in the environment would be actually more potent, more correct and more balanced, and you will get the results, because the industry today, I think in India, has come up to the capacity to be able to give you these platforms in the manner that you desire. And the third thing, the other aspect that I would say is the minute you dilute it next time you don't get that product, then you actually are giving the wrong signal. That means I really don't have to work hard enough if I have a product, and maybe because if you don't get anything else, you accept something which is below the parameter. So I think this thing which I have noticed in the last year and a half, where you sort of suddenly downgraded your parameters, please, I think that gives the wrong kind of signal as far as the industry is concerned. And why should you downgrade it? If I require a particular thing which has to function at a particular and give me a desired result, I'm sorry, if it doesn't give it, then I don't want it. Because then we've already got enough methodologies within our own systems to ensure that we get the best and achieve whatever we have to achieve. And the third, last thing that I would just sort of like to leave is, look at, be careful of the build to print, which a large amount of initially the Russians, then the Israelis have looked at by coming in and getting fixated with the small startups. They give them this very rosy picture, but they only give them the spokes and wheel to manufacture and not really the heart of the machine that has to be done, which you will not have a control over the longer run. What you require is the engine and the heart of that matter. So please be very careful that when you do look at it and you are in a hurry, if you are in a hurry and require it urgently, I think buy global is the answer. I think we don't have to wait. But if you are looking at it and you have the time, please have the patience to look at Mark 1, Mark 2 and Mark 3, so that you will have the best product at 1/3, if not 1/5 the cost of what you would pay for a subject and for a material and for a platform which you really don't require and doesn't have the capacity to meet your targets. I end with that, and I would just state there's a lot more which I'm sure the CEOs and the MDs of a company can talk about, but as I said, as an advisor, seeing things from an outside perspective, these are the areas that I've seen we are working on. And as you're aware, the C295 is now under manufacture, or well, is being set up, the plant is being set up in Baroda. So within the matter of another 3 years, you would have the C295 CKDs coming out from here, and hopefully subsequently when the factory is on, you would look at these weapon systems, these aircraft platforms being manufactured in the space outside other than with HAL. So that's where the whole story is. You've got gun manufacturers who are in competition, you've got aerostructures where you're in competition, you have electro-optical devices. So I think there is a great amount of resilience, and as I said, what Rudra and they do with all these great activity of using AI and new technologies to upgrade systems, whether it is for UAV interdiction, UAV engagements or defeating them, that's happening all across the spectrum. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. In fact, as I invite Colonel Bhatia, I am reminded of an incident where the service headquarters were going to set out the parameters for helicopters to be bought at one stage. India was looking at buying about 800 odd helicopters, and the parameters had 180 criteria. And when somebody seriously sat down, they realized the best helicopter in the world had only 140. So you ended up cut pasting from every defense and military affairs journal and producing an aircraft or a helicopter for which the requirement could have existed, but that didn't exist in the world. So you've got to be more realistic. Now may I invite Colonel Bhatia, who prefers to be called Mr. Bhatia like me. I don't use my service rank. Colonel Bhatia is heading Bharat Forge on the ground as its CEO, a man who's had again a distinguished military career, but sidestepped much earlier than trying to become a general officer and joined Bharat Forge. He served in diplomatic assignments abroad, just like General Sani. He's a Commando Dagger winner, which is a rarity for an officer from the non-infantry, non-special forces background, engineers officer, and passed out amongst the top 3-4 in order of merit from his batch in the academy. So those who worn the uniform or wearing the uniform know that those are the ones who get shortlisted to become the equivalent of AOC and CEO Army commanders. But today he's sitting plumb on a position where it would be the envy of a lot of military officers to try and get there. And he's leading the way for Bharat Forge to try and make it, in the vision of Baba Kalyani ji, the world's leading artillery gun manufacturer, amongst other things. So, off to you, sir.
Thank you, Maru. Firstly, I must tell you that you are an excellent journalist and your pedigree of armed forces is very evident. You always have a contingency plan. So while my session was much later, but the plan came into action, so here I am. It's a pleasure to be talking to people who know this industry. A little bit of talk was given by our chairman earlier in the morning. Before starting, let me tell you where we come from, and then I'll give you 2-3 views which are very important for where we want to go. Bharat Forge or Kalyani Group had been into the defense in the, I would say, component space for a long time, making some forgings, certain crankshafts and wheels. But we seriously took to the defense building of systems in 2010. We actually started planning in 2010, and by 11 or 12, we had a master plan in front of us. And over the last 1 decade, if I was to cover, we have now built a very, very strong portfolio, which is almost becoming envy of the many manufacturers all over the world. In artillery systems, in this span of 10 years, we have ab initio developed 8 new platforms, and I have often been on the speaking circuit, and I distinctly remember my talks both in high command and in staff college, where somebody asked me that, well, it is about 6 years ago, when you are building all these systems, who is going to buy it? India may not buy it. And my answer to it was, we are not worried. If we make a good product, the market will come to us. And today it has been proven right, that the market actually came to us. And just to give you a little idea, next year's revenue from our defense group will be 70% exports and 30% domestic. And exports is of large platforms, not of components. So this is the actual journey which has started. So the first part was building on the artillery system. And how did we go about building it was very simple. We always had core competence in metal forming, metal machining, and forging, and metallurgical knowledge. So we thought the system which revolve around themselves are the best ones to be attended. And what better to start with artillery. And that's how this journey started. First weapon platform came in 2012, the second one came in 14, 15, thereafter 18. There was a little bit of delay due to COVID, but today we have 8 platforms. 2 of them are on export list. One of them has already been picked up for induction into Indian Army. We are expecting RFP to come. So overall, the picture looks quite good. The second area where we went in was in the automotive or so-called the protected vehicle segment. We probably did not want to get into those segments where larger players like Tata, Ashok Leyland and Mahindra of the country were there. We started to pick up a niche area in highly protected vehicles and we made a real success of it. Yesterday again, we had a consignment which was going for United Nations. My team was here to hand over those vehicles to UN. And what we can say with a lot of pride that these vehicles are actually being sought by all the developed countries. When our vehicles are operating in certain areas in Africa, these vehicles are helping pull out the vehicles from Western countries which are not able to negotiate the tough terrain which they are occupying. The third segment where we started to work was on the ammunition and the small arms. Over the period of last few years, we have developed 2 weapon platforms of small arms ourselves and 4 are with certain partners in the world. So we are competing for all the areas. Similarly, in the ammunition, we have a huge backlog of exports. We have built up a lot of, I would say, export opportunities, and today, almost all over Europe, we are supplying ammunition which is ready to fill and which is being supplied to almost all the countries in Europe. We are also now getting inquiries from all over the world. So if you take a look at that, I think the prophecy which was done some time ago, that if we can't sell it in India, we'll sell it abroad, is almost proving true. The 2 things which stand out very clearly is, all this time, there was a feeling that if you haven't sold within the country, you will not be able to sell outside. And probably this will all happen because of what has happened at our northern borders, little beyond our northern borders, that the world has suddenly woken up, the conventional weapons are back in scene, and today everybody is trying to build up. And we are able to fill that void in that whole game in many countries of the world. So this is as far as our journey is concerned. Now looking good, the business is good. We are almost getting inquiries of a few hundred crores every week on exports, and we are very hopeful that we will be making a big dent into whatever we have been talking about as far as the government targets are concerned. The second point which I wanted to bring is that India has a aim, and it is a stated aim which said that we want to have our defense production going up to $25 billion by next 3 to 4 years, which is 25 to 26. Today we stand at about $12 billion, roughly about 88,000 crores. We want to make it to $25 billion. If you take a look at defense budget, it only grows by 9% on an average. So if you are growing at 9%, and if you want to double something in 4 years, it's not going to happen. So the key point here to understand is, the budget is growing at 9%, we need to grow at 25% CAGR to double our production in next 3 to 4 years. So where is that void which is going to be filled? And that is, the world is the marketplace. We need to export. Today, this year, from the government figures, the total exports of India will be close to $2 billion. This is a 5x of what was there 6 years ago or 5 years ago. So if we could increase 5 times in the last 5 years, it is quite possible that this 2 billion can become 5 billion going forward into next 4 years. If we reach that figure of 5 billion in next 3 to 4 years, our production targets of 12 billion to 25 billion will happen. Now, if you really want to get into this chain, what are the parameters which are required? You need a defense industrial base which cut across various tiers and provides a great ecosystem for the Indian industry, which means you have system integrators on top, followed by people who are tier 1, which are subsystem suppliers, and you have tier 2 and tier 3, which are able to provide provide you components into their areas of specialization. This is the ecosystem which is required. Now, developing this ecosystem, one of the key points in that ecosystem would be the development of technology and innovation. It was very heartening to see that just a mere allocation of perhaps just about $7 million for IDEX has ignited a million minds in this country. 864 new startups came up focusing themselves on defense by a mere infusion of $6 to $7 million. So you can see that these things can have a real effect on the industry when you can show to the young entrepreneurs that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. So if you start working today, you can hopefully see revenue and you can hopefully see growth in the years to come. So just spending 60 odd crore rupees, we were able to create 864 new startups. Just to give you an example, some people who know this much better than me are sitting there. So just to give you an example that some of you would have attended the Defense Expo and you have seen a brilliant show which was done by the so-called jury, which was a demonstration which was made, excellent show, swarm drones. The cost of that swarm drone to Government of India was just 65 lakh. That startup developed that swarm drone with some 500 or 1,000 drones in just 65 lakhs. So Del Khandare knows all this very well. He is today propagating the MSME's case in this. So what we need today is, while we have ignited their minds, do not let that get converted to frustration. Convert their good work into orders. And that is where the key to the success of innovation development in this country will come. Leave the research and development to DRDOs and the government facilities up to what we call technology readiness level 1 to 3. 4, 5, 6 onwards, large industries can take up and convert that development into a product. And on innovation, there is nobody. Most of the breakthrough technologies and innovation has come through garages. What we mean is startups. But if we do not encourage them and do not follow up their success by placing orders in quick time, it will be a development. One of the recommendations I have always been making, and I would again insist, for IDEX, a startup was being paid only 1.5 crores as government grant. He was supposed to have a parallel funding of 1.5 crores of his own. So total 3 crores for development. These people have put in that 1.5 crores, but the 1.5 crores allocation from government still goes into a very large, I would say, red tape. There are, one set of audit, the second set of audit, the third set of audit, and money delayed is money denied, especially for these people who are working on shoestring budget. If we want this to become a movement, if we want this to become the change India is looking at, please ensure that they get paid very quickly. We have now come with IDEX Prime, where 10 crore is the amount which is being done. So I am sure many more projects will come. These 864 will convert to 8,000 startups. That will see a technology revolution. That technology revolution will spur larger industries to become more efficient and occupy more and more place in the global scenario. We need to create many more companies in India which do have the core strength to take on the large majors. Out of the private industry, we will not figure even 500 in the rank of defense industry in the world. But we need to go up into that particular ladder and move into at least first 100 in the next maybe 3 to 4 years. Once you have 4 or 5 companies as private sector companies in the top 100 companies, you will see that this will start a movement like it happened in auto industry in the country, like it happened in many other sectors. So this is the path forward for the nation. This is what we require to be done, and I can assure you in terms of talent, we are, in fact, I will not use the word second to none. We are the best. Every technology company today is headed by India. Even the DRDO of US, called DARPA, till a few months ago was headed by an Indian. She has now moved as a technical advisor to the President of the United States of America, named Zaki Prasad. So what really we do not lack is the capability. What we need is to create an ecosystem which shows us results in quicker time. We talked about some of the points about cutting down the cycles. That is the paramount importance. We need performance-based QRs. We need very quick trials, and we need conclusion of these things before the technology becomes obsolete. With this, I rest my case. Thank you so much.
My thanks to Colonel Bhatia for typical military fashion, as they say, stick to brevity and clarity, and he has brought out the key aspects that the government and the country needs to focus on. I am reminded, about more than a decade ago, there was a brief meeting I had with an additional secretary in the Ministry of Defence, and he made two important points to me. One was that, one of the reasons our missile technology is world class is because we have been denied globally our missile technology to be able to import that from abroad because of various restrictions that exist against Korea, our journey. That exist in the world, and because of MTCR, we are not being able to get the technology from the rest of the world. So we went and innovated the missiles that are today creating a sense of awe across the world. And the second thing was that he said to me very sensibly that, unless you put restrictions on buying from outside, you are not going to encourage our own industry to grow. Because, yes, there are critical requirements that have to be immediately met. Say, for instance, when the Chinese intruded, we had to quickly buy stuff because we needed to fill up the gaps wherever they exist. But by putting restrictions, you ensure that your own industry takes off. And my third point is based on what Colonel Bhatia said and even Jansani has said, that you have to give money to the intelligent and aspiring small startups. They've got the knowledge, but they don't have the infrastructure to really impress you by creating products, getting them tried elsewhere. As a bigger group like Kalyani Group got it tried outside because the trials were difficult to implement here. Because there is a will, you just have to support that. And why is it Indians succeed abroad in far greater numbers than they succeed here? Because the ecosystem exists there for them to succeed. You have to allow that ecosystem here to come about. I'm sure you'll hear more of that as we go along during the day, but I'm not going to take any more time, sir, because we are about 5-7 minutes over time, and I'd like to keep the conference to time. If you wish to go to the washroom, that's the door. If you wish to go out for a cup of tea, coffee, that's the door, not the ones down below. And we'll be grateful if you can get back here in 15, maximum 20 minutes.